Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Nancy Pickard. She is a certified integrative coach through the Ford Institute for Transformational Training and the Levin Life Coach Academy. She is certified as a breakthrough shadow coach, empowered parent coach, courage coach, healing your heart coach, leadership coach, holistic lifestyle coach, and bigger, better, braver coaching. I'm so happy to have you on, Nancy. Thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Well, Nancy, I wanted to ask you, what was Nancy Pickard's journey to get here to become a certified integrative coach? What was Nancy's journey like?
How far back do you want me to go?
You can go back
I've
as far
lived
as
a
you
big
want.
life. Well, so I was married for 26 years and living in New Jersey, happily married, and I owned a personal training gym.
Okay.
So I was already working with people, listening to their problems, but I was working on them from the outside, not the inside.
Right.
Fast forward, my husband wanted a divorce after 26 years. I was like broken and it really took me down. I didn't have the tools that I have today for sure, or the tools that I share with my clients. But I went on, I was dating, I was trying to fix that picture, and I ended up in another serious relationship and engaged and living. Now I was living in Aspen, Colorado. And when that relationship fell apart, I thought, there is something the universe is trying to tell me, and I do not want to be here a third time. I need to figure out myself. It can't just be that I have like a broken picker, and let me just see, let me learn more about me and do all the work before I get back out there again. So I actually hired a coach, a Healing Your Heart coach, which was my first certification. And I decided in that moment that I also wanted to become one. And so that was 11, I don't know, maybe even 12 years ago. I got coached for a year. Then I started my training. I trained for another year. And I mean, there's probably 5 certifications that you haven't even named that I keep getting more and more certifications because it gives me
Okay.
more and more tools for my toolbox.
That
And
makes
then I
sense.
wrote a book, and that actually really helped me. It was a how-to step by step so that people who can't afford a coach could still be live a bigger, better, braver life, because it's a step by step how to do it. And now I'm in relationship and marriage therapeutic coaching certification with Terry Real, who I think is just the most amazing person in the world for relationships. And that brings me to where I am today.
Wow, that's some journey. And today's topic is how to bounce back from a breakup. I think most of us, if not all of us, been through it. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Nancy, is it possible that after a breakup, is it that we need the closure to move on? Um, is it such that the breakup was so bad, whether it was, I hate to say, any type of abuse or whatever, or maybe it was emotional abuse or whatever it could be, is it tough to move forward if we don't get that closure? It seems that closure is always necessary in some cases. In your coaching and your life experience, is that what you've heard and what you've seen?
Actually, what I train people to do is become the observer of what happened and get out of being the victim. We co create our relationships, even if all we do is attract somebody into our life that attracts from our wounds and our triggers. And even if that's the only thing that we co created that. So usually you fit with somebody where your wounds and their wounds trigger each other, which if you do your inner work, you can grow from that and learn from that and not have to get out of the relationship. But in terms of closure, in my mind, you shouldn't move on until you recognize your role in the last relationship
Mm.
and what the gifts were in that last relationship and what did you lose, and then grieve what you've really lost, because it is a loss. But we don't have to be the victim in our story. It's the victim in our story that keeps us sad and angry and grieving. It's more about, and also like the future that, you're not getting, that you thought you were getting, or that you were building with this person. So yes, you need closure, but it's actually inner work that you need. It's
Mm.
seeing how you showed up, what were the wounds, why did you get triggered, what are the characteristics in the other person that triggered you, so you can own those back, so you don't have to meet another person who has. The thing is, if you don't do inner work on yourself, you're just going to attract another person with these same issues, because
Wow.
they're coming to you to heal the things that you need healing with. If you don't do the work and heal from them, you're going to get another person with the same stuff.
Wow. I never heard it put that way, where, we have to work on ourselves, think about, wounds that might be triggered. Uh, the key is what you said, is the inner work. Um, and I went through that, Nancy, where I had a breakup, and it wasn't even the part of the woman not being emotional available. I did the inner work because I saw the red flags at the beginning, and I ignored them, because I there was something about this woman that I really liked and cared about, but I ignored the red flags. Is that something that in your coaching you see, that people ignore the red flags, or they're
We
thinking with,
all ignore them. We all ignore them
okay, so we're
because,
thinking with our head instead of our hearts, or vice versa?
well, you're definitely thinking with the body part, but I'm not so sure it's your head. Um,
Okay.
what happens is that you meet somebody, and you're the the vision of them is not even, you're not really 3D.
Mhm.
It's partly who you think they could be, it's the endorphins, it's like it's like feelings without knowledge. And then you get knowledge, and then eventually you start to see the things that you don't really like about them. But in the beginning, it's feelings without knowledge. And we all get hooked up on that. And we red flags are red flags. The first thought that you have about why this may not work is probably the thing that will make it not work. Now, with that being said, I also think that if you look for what's wrong in a person or a relationship, the only thing I can tell you for sure is that you will find it. If you look for what's right, it changes your whole attitude, your outlook, gratitude, and a lot of times we sabotage a relationship by looking for what's wrong, because we want to protect our heart and we don't want to get hurt. So what we really do is ruin the chance of opening our heart and actually having a relationship. So, people will say, I want to be in a relationship. But if you say to them, but what are you really experiencing? Well, I'm experiencing, bottom feeding, and because I think I'm not worthy, and then I attract men who aren't worthy either, and it doesn't work. Or what I experience is finding something wrong with them before they can find something wrong with me, or keeping my heart closed. Well, if those are the things that you're experiencing, then that's the thing you're more committed to than the thing you say you are, which is, I want to be in a relationship. So you have to actually clear out what you really are committed to so that you can get it.
Wow. So are we setting expectations too high for that other person, or even for ourselves? Do we always expect more from our partner or ourselves, or do we set the limits so high that if somebody doesn't meet them, all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, like you said, it's like um feeling without knowledge, because if you're dating someone after 30 days, 40 days, 50 days, should there be an expectation after 90 days, 120 days, or that's just too
I
out
think the
there?
first, yeah, I think the first 6 months, people send in the representative. They
Mm.
send in the person that they think you want them to be and that they hope they could be. But after 6 months, they can't really hold on to that. And so I can remember I've been with my new partner, it's not so new, almost 7 years, and I can remember saying to him, I need that representative back. Like, where'd he go? He's the guy I want. He was perfect for me. Where is that guy? Because you can't hold on to it, and you got to give it 6 months. Let things settle in, let the hormones settle down, really get to know the person, and then you're in a better position to see what's real and what's not, and what's not just your fantasy of them, but they're actually not showing up as who they are. So there's a fantasy all the way around, and there's the fantasy of being in love. And I wouldn't actually say our expectations are too high. I would say that there's a lot going on in the beginning, that the adrenaline, the endorphins, everything makes it seem better than it is, really.
So, wow. 6 months. It's funny because if I would have had this advice 3, 4 years ago, believe me, I would have definitely seen the red flags. Is it possible that as a man, I'll talk about myself or anybody or any other guy, and I'm not putting this on the woman. Do we get complacent as a man that, we got the woman that we wanted to be with, we're happy, that first 30, 60 days we're exciting, we're joking around, we keeping it lively, but then day 61, 70, whatever, okay, now I'm with her, now I could relax, now I could,
Yeah,
yeah. So do you see in your coaching and in your readings and in your writings, uh
I see it in
do we
my life.
screw up? Yeah, are you sitting there,
See
do
it
we
in my
screw up
life.
as men?
I'm a woman. I can tell you this. I see this in my life. And I'm not going to say that women don't change, but I think historically men get lazy. And if they don't have a woman who sets healthy boundaries and is very clear about what she wants and what she doesn't want, what she will and will not tolerate, what's acceptable for her. If she's clear, a man can't get lazy. But if the woman is very, my needs don't matter, I go along to get along, I'm a people pleaser. If that's that woman, the man won't know that he's not measuring up. And then that's the kind of woman that will end up dumping the guy,
Right. Wow.
because she didn't get what she wanted or needed, but she never asked for what she wanted or needed.
So we
So
need communication right from the get-go.
it's all about communication.
Yeah.
And it's all about each partner making themselves a priority, not the other person. I will come into a relationship making myself the priority, making sure that my needs are met, and making sure that I hold myself in warm regard with all of my flaws and all of my amazing attributes, everything. I hold myself in warm regard, and I know my own self worth. And then I want to cherish and hold my partner in warm regard. And I want to help him get his needs met, but not over my needs. I will
Wow.
negotiate, I will balance, but I am a woman who knows what she needs. And I set really healthy boundaries, and I ask for what I need. There's not one man I've dated, and I've dated a lot of men who didn't know where they stood every second of the day.
Wow. So are we setting too much expectations on the other person to make us happy when you said
Yeah,
we gotta make our own needs met? We gotta
yeah,
make ourselves happy. So again, in your daily life and in your coaching, are we relying on the other person to make us happy? And that's an unfair event, unfair
yes.
to
It's
them.
an unfair expectation.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, you also have love avoidance and love addicted people, and they unfortunately get attracted to themselves, to each other.
Right.
So if a love addict pushes in too much, the love avoidant feels like they're suffocating and they pull back. So you actually have to read the room and you have to know what you are. But love avoidance and codependence, they usually think that somebody else will make them feel loved. Somebody else will make them feel worthy. Somebody else will take care of them. And so unless you do your inner work, which is what I coach people to do, to take care of yourself, parent yourself, love yourself, be self-referenced and stop being other referenced. So your self-worth should not be dependent on how somebody else sees you. It should be on how you see you.
Right. Wow. I like what you said a little bit just a few seconds ago about reading the room, or, I'll say for me, read your partner, get to know them, get to communicate. Uh, I, and the thing we're talking with Nancy Pickard. Nancy, I really feel what you're saying about get to know someone. Men get lazy. It all that I think contributes to us as guys as failing, maybe failing at relationships if we don't really keep up with the, I hate to say the standards of a woman, but the standards of the relationship. Does that make sense?
Yes, and unfortunately for men, historically, it's been a very patriarchal political society.
Mhm.
So that men and men's attributes are glorified and women's attributes are, so it's like one up and one down.
Right.
And women are taught early in life that their voice doesn't matter or their needs don't matter or they have to please others to be safe or to be loved. Men, by the age of 4, have already learned not to share their emotions, not to know their emotions, and they model the grandiose behaviors from the men generations before. And
Right.
so what's happening today is that men, and not so much today, let's go back to like the 40 and 50 and 60-year-old and 70-year-old men.
Right.
Those are the men who are having trouble in relationships because the women want more from them than they were taught to have.
Wow.
So the women want a guy who's going to share his feelings and share responsibilities and be same as, not one up or one down. And the men aren't there yet. Now, I have 30 and 40-year-old sons, and they are there. So that generation and lower, they don't have the same, they have some of it, but not as much. The 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old men, if they have not evolved, they're going to get into a relationship and they are going to fall flat on their face because women are just not going to put up with it. They
Wow.
want feeling. They want somebody who's not withdrawn and avoidant. They want somebody who's present and knows how to show up relationally.
Wow. Okay. So share. So in other words, for a man, um, because sometimes men rely on other guys to share their feelings, and if they want to cry, they don't want to cry in front of the woman because it shows that they might be weak and all that, and so they'll maybe cry in front of their buddies or their brother, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, is that something that needs to be? I mean, you seem to say that that should change and do it in front of your, maybe your wife or your longtime partner. Would that make a man sort of weak if he does that? Would a woman see like, oh my God, this guy's too emotional? See, is there a fine balance between that?
I think there's a balance. So
Okay.
when I say to you, if I ask you a question about, well, how do you feel about that? Or what comes up for you around that? I want an answer. I don't want, gee, I don't know, gee, I haven't thought about that.
Yeah, I get you.
Well, okay, think about it now because I put the question out there, right?
Right.
You want somebody that's going to answer that. Or, if your partner is feeling stressed because of work or feeling left out or lonely or whatever they're feeling, you want to know that what they're feeling.
Hmm.
So being relational means sharing what's going on in your emotions. Now, that's different than sitting there and bawling your eyes out every time you turn around. So I have to say, and it's a bias, I could get in trouble for saying this, I don't love like a big crying guy. Like if I'm in a movie and he's bawling his eyes out and I'm not even crying, I'm like looking over thinking, really? So I know that that's a double standard.
Right.
Um, you want an emotionally intelligent man.
You want a man to be a man,
It
but
doesn't, yeah.
but
He doesn't have to
share, yeah,
cry at every meal but
yeah,
I mean, yes, share your feelings. Let your emotions, all your emotions are should be safe and should be, shown. And so I'm not saying you could never cry, but I have met one or two like big criers and, I don't
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
personally,
you don't even have to go further. I know,
yeah,
I
I
know,
know,
I could
I
tell.
know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But
Yeah,
the opposite is true. I do not want a withdrawn man. I do not want a man that can't share his feelings and doesn't know his feelings and
right,
can't express them and is so conflict avoidant that they don't tell you what's going on, just like I described earlier. You can have a man that doesn't tell you that it's not working, and the next thing you know, he's gone because it's not working. And
right,
he didn't want to, he's conflict avoidant, so he didn't share his true feelings or his true needs. And then so that doesn't work. You need to express what's going on.
right, right, right. No,
Be willing
like,
to take
yeah, no,
like
and
yeah,
I get what you say. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nancy. Please finish.
no, you need to be willing. Like I do couples counseling now, and I can have a man who is lying to his wife, which is the most intimate thing you can possibly do. It's the opposite of being relational. And they do it because they're afraid of upsetting her or they're afraid of her reaction. Nothing is worse than being caught in a lie.
Yeah,
So always tell the truth and be willing to upset your partner
right.
or
I,
or start it with your partner. Listen, I've got something I want to say that I'm feeling that I don't know how you're going to respond, but could you just listen and recognize that this is just my interpretation or these are just my feelings and I don't even need you to react. I just want to share what's going on.
right. No, I definitely agree 100% for us guys. For most guys, man up. Tell your partner what's going on, how you feeling. You don't need to ball out, but at least just express that you're angry or things are not, you're not, things in your relationship are not being met. So Nancy, first of all, I want to thank you so much for being on People and Dating. My God, I could talk to you for another 2-3 hours. Um, so going forward, uh, one of the ways to bounce back from a breakup, like you said, is get to know yourself. Don't bring that next relationship or your next you to the next relationship. For the final word before we get about your book and your coaching, what's one or two things we could do besides, like I said, get to know ourselves? Obviously we got the triggering of the wounds and all that, and looking for a different type of partner that we're used to doing. Anything that you could suggest that as men and women we could do better than we did yesterday? Did my question
Well,
make
yeah,
sense? Sorry, I was
yeah,
all
it
over the
does.
place.
So yeah, I'm trying to think of which answer I want to use, but you know, wherever you go, there you are, right? So
Yeah,
we are the common denominator in every relationship we've ever been in. So do the work around what worked, what didn't work, what were your expectations? Are they real expectations? What do you really need in a partner? And like I have my clients write out this whole like pages long so they don't miss anything of every single thing they want in a partner. Well, you have to become that partner. So
mm,
I actually like people to stop dating for a couple of months to work on themselves with me. I mean, they don't have to, but because I feel like, remember the guy, Where's Waldo?
yeah,
He's walking all over the world. I
yeah.
tell them, your partner has left the building and is on his way to you. And when you actually become the partner to receive him, you'll find each other. So
Wow.
do the work on yourself.
No, I love that. Do the work on yourself. Wow.
Yeah.
So Nancy, talk more about your book. What's the name of the book? Where could people find it?
So my book is Bigger, Better, Braver, Conquer
Mhm.
Your Fears, Embrace Your Courage, and Transform Your Life. And it's a how-to step by step. Every chapter is the next step. in figuring out what you're like. I climbed Kilimanjaro when I was 61 years old. So I kind
Wow.
of say, like, what's your Mount Kilimanjaro?
Yeah.
What's the thing you've been afraid to do? It could be getting in a relationship. It could be moving across the country. It could be getting rid of your job and doing an entrepreneurial thing. It could be having a child alone. Whatever it is, how are you going to get there? So it's from step A to launch, how to make it happen. And it's done by uncovering the disempowering beliefs that are holding you back and keeping you small, because we all have them. And again, if you don't uncover them, then they rule your operating system, even though you don't know about them. So that's the book. It's in paperback and it's also on Audible,
Okay.
and it's me. So you get to listen to my voice and with its funny little accent. And my website is nancypickardlifecoach.com. Everything is on there. I have a lot of freebies, a free chapter to my book. I'm a boundary coach. I'm a reinvention coach. I'm now doing the therapeutic relationship work, and I am starting a 12-week course on Zoom. It's at 7 o'clock. Let's see, it's at 4 Pacific, 5 Mountain, and then 6 Central and 7. And it's once a week. It's on Zoom for 70 minutes, and
Okay.
it's called The New Relationship Blueprint. And it's everything we've talked about. It's for people who are either in a relationship and it's not working and they want to clean it up, or it's for people who are not in a relationship and it's about, you're the common denominator. Let's do the inner work. We do it in a group. And then what's the new paradigm? Like, I'm with a partner and we live in 2 states and we're together 80% of the time and 20% we're not.
Right.
That works for us. So what's the paradigm that would work for you? Not everybody's going to get married, especially as you get older. And what do you want and what does it look like and how do you get your needs met? So I'm offering $100 off on my course, but it starts February 7th. I've given you a link, so
Yes.
that'll be in your show notes.
Yes,
And
definitely.
if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Nancy Pickard Life Coach, all the links to this course and a lot of information and reels about it, you can find it all there.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely put it on the show notes. I'll put it on my Instagram page, Facebook page. Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Right.
And tell us that website one more time.
NancyPickardLifeCoach.com.
All right, sounds good. Well, again, Nancy, I could have talked to you probably another 2, 3 hours. First of all, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be on People on Dating. And my God, I had a great time talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, bye-bye.